Good day, student. My name is Edo Triumph, the contact tutor for computer literacy for the pre-primary diploma students. I welcome you all to this presentation. Today's presentation is an examination-based presentation for 2020 computer literacy examination. So I'm going to take you through this presentation for the rest of 45 minutes. So sit down and relax while I guide you and take you through this presentation. Are you ready for the examination? Before I ask you if you are ready for the examination, first of all, I want to congratulate you for having passed your assignment. For you to be qualified to write the examination, it means you've already passed your assignment. So congratulations for passing your assignment. Now, here is examination time. As I always say, if you are not ready, then your situation be like that, my friend, on this screen. If you don't plan ahead, you have also planned. You did not plan, but you also plan. It means you have a plan to fail. Don't plan to fail, plan to pass. Okay? So what Mr. Edo is trying to say here, prepare in advance for your examination. Don't wait until it is few days, few weeks before the examination before you start to prepare. Prepare, plan in advance. This presentation is for who? This presentation is for those taking diploma in pre-primary education, DPPE Cl11, and Bachelor of Education Senior Primary, BESP Cl11. Why is this slide so important for you? Because we have computer literacy for all IOL students. Whether you're taking diploma in education, Bachelor of Education, computer literacy is a compulsory subject for all IOL students. So it's good for you to be sure which presentation is for you so that you don't use another presentation. That is why I said this first slide is very necessary for you to know. So if you are for diploma in pre-primary education, DPPE Cl11, Bachelor of Education Senior Primary, BESP Cl11, then you are at the right place. This presentation is for you. Okay, let's set the ball rolling. Sit down and get ready and listen to me. Here, this presentation is for which examination? This presentation is for April, August, and November examination. So we don't have separate presentation. We don't have another presentation apart from this one. So this presentation is for April, August, and November examination. So everybody is given equal landing platform. Do you understand that now? Good. What should you expect when it comes to the examination? Everything in your studied guide. That is why I want to put it clear to you that what I'm presenting to you now is not a scope but a guide. So don't think that whatever I say here is what is going to come out, and what I did not say is not going to come out in the examination. No. So this is not a scope. I'm not here to tell you that these are the topics you must read, these are the units you must read, don't read this one, don't read this one. No. Because it happens at times after the examination, students call you and say, Mr. Edo, you said you did not mention this thing in your presentation. The presentation is not to tell you which topics to read, or which unit to read, or which unit you must not read. Everything must be prepared for. Okay? It's not a scope, but a guide. In every examination, it's always good to prepare well. As I always say, in your preparation, do not ignore those examination terms and phrases. They are also equally necessary. Those examination terms and phrases are also very, very necessary. Why? It is good to know what it means when a question says discuss. It is good to know what it means if a question says outline. If a question says evaluate, distinguish, differentiate. If you don't know, then there's a possibility you fail the question. Why? The reason is that you perhaps know what the question is asking you, but you don't know how to answer the question. So if you don't answer the question in a way that the question should be answered, then you fail, even if you have an idea of what the question is. So answering the question in the way that the examiner wants the question to be answered is very necessary. In your study guide, towards the end of your study guide, the last few pages of your study guide, you will see these examination phrases. Please do not ignore them. Go through them, know the meaning of each of them, then they will surely help you in your examination. Good. Let's continue. The examination covers the entire module with questions selected from all units. The examination format, I'm going to guide you on the examination format. But before I say something about the examination format, certain things that I want you to do is this. Go and download the past examination question papers. Go and download the past examination question papers. Why should you download past examination question papers? If you are going to a war, if you know the terrain you are going, then it is easier. The examination past question paper gives you an idea of how the examination question paper looks like. And I must tell you a secret here. In most cases, questions are restructured. I don't want to use the word republished, but they are restructured. Okay? Because the course outline has not changed, the module has not changed, the topic has not changed. So we only change the question. They come out in different ways. But by the time you have access, you're able to download 3 years, 4 years, 2 years question behind. Then you are already used to the way the questions are being asked. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So when you see question in the examination, it's not going to totally appear new to you. Something else that I want you to go and download from your student portal is the past examination feedback. Thank God I'm talking to teachers, okay? As a teacher, if you give your learners question in the exam, you give your learners homework or you give your learners classwork, what do you normally do after marking the homework or after marking the classwork? You always do what is called correction in the class, right? Which we call the feedback. So the feedback from the tutor is also very necessary for you. Why? While writing a feedback as a tutor, I must have written in my feedback common mistakes that were made by the previous students. So every examination that is marked, there is a feedback that comes with it. That feedback is to help you to avoid pitfalls so that you don't make such repeated mistakes again. So look at that feedback, download the feedback, go through the feedback and see what perhaps you have been doing wrong in case you are taking the examination again. You have already failed it once. See areas that the tutor always pay attention to when it comes to marks allocation. So don't ignore the feedback. Please download the feedback and go through them. Okay? Your assignment also, you must not ignore your assignment, please. You don't ignore your assignments. The assignment is the same format with the examination. So check your assignment and see those comments that I made with my red pen. See those recommendations that I gave to you. Don't ignore them, please. Go through those recommendations using my red pen, and it will help you when it comes to the examination. Now let's go to the examination format properly now. By the time you collect your examination question paper, you are going to see 15 multiple choice. 15 multiple choice. These multiple choice questions, they are selected from all the topics in your study guide. Apart from this 15 multiple choice, what else are you going to see? You are going to see questions covering the entire syllabus, each 2 marks. Questions like, define, explain the following. Define, explain the following. Things like hardware, software, CPU, system and application software, mainframe computer, supercomputer, clock speed, RAM, ROM. So what should you do? You're expected to define or explain those words, and perhaps where necessary, where possible, you should give example. I will not give you one example in this presentation. Let's take an example here. I ask you to explain this term ROM. Ask you to explain this term ROM. If you look at this is not a word on its own. It's an acronym. This is an acronym. It's not a word on its own. That is why each of the alphabet is in capital letters. So what should you do in this case? What you should do when answering this question is to first of all give me the full meaning of this acronym. So you should tell me this means read only memory. Tell me the full meaning of that acronym first. After you've said that, you cannot tell me what ROM is. ROM is then you continue. ROM is a part of the memory that the content can only be read. The content cannot be amended by the user of the computer. You cannot add to the content of the user, to the content of ROM. You tell me what ROM is all about. ROM contains instructions or commands that makes your computer to boot. Tell me everything that you kind of know about it. Okay, if possible, give one or two examples. You can also have things like, let's look at something else again, hardware. I ask you a question, explain hardware. When you're giving your definition, when you are doing your explanation, please please give professional definition. What do I mean by professional definition? Professional definition in the sense that give me definition by using good technical ways. At times you mark, this is computer literacy, it's very simple. At times you mark some assignment or some examination, and then the student give you something like this. Hardware is something that is hard. Can you imagine that? Hardware is something that is hard. Then I say, well, okay. I look around my table, I look at anything that is hard. Oh, Mr. Edo is also hard. Okay, I'm not a hardware. The TV is hard, it's not a hardware. You get to see that definition is not really too okay. Do not just say something that is hard. That is not a good definition. That is not a good definition. Some tell you that, okay, hardware is something that we can see. That is not a good definition. Use good technical words. Hardware are the physical components of the computer that we can see and touch. Do not just say they are the things we can see and touch. No, they are the physical component of the computer that we can see and touch. All right? So give good definition using the right terms when you are defining your words, your terminology in the computer. Let me see what else I can pick up again and try to put it through. Let's look at a question like this, for example. A question says, differentiate between system software and application software. Take a question, for example, like that. Differentiate between system software and application software. The question is not asking you to explain. Basically, that is not what the question is saying. The question is not just saying you should discuss. No, differentiate. To differentiate is the same thing as to distinguish. So I want you to bring out the differences. You understand that now? I want you to bring out the differences between system software and an application software. So a student, for example, that gives me an answer like this. A student said, okay, he defines system software. The student also defined application software and ends there. My dear, you will only get half of the mark. You will only get half of the mark. Why? you have not differentiated. You have not brought out the differences. So first of all, you explain, you define, then from your explanation, you bring out the difference. I would like it if you put it in a tabular form, in the sense like this. Let me show you what I'm trying to say. I wish I can stand up and talk to you. I like my profession as a teacher. I like talking. You see, some people are paid for talking. Then I used to tell my students, some of you will punish you for talking, but some people are paid for talking. It's good to talk. The pastors also talk. All right. Okay, let's continue. Here is it now. Can you see what I have just done now? You can use a tabular form to differentiate. Then you can say system software. Okay, you can say application software. So you bring out the differences. Okay, bring out the differences in them. The system software can do this, application software cannot do this. Can you see that? Bring out what is different between them before you come to a conclusion. Do you understand that now? Because can you see why at times you fail examination, even you presume that you know, you might know, but at times you are not giving out the answers the way it should be. So bring out the differences when a question says differentiate. Bring out the differences when a question says you should distinguish. Do you understand? Yes. Okay. Let's continue with our discussion. So in you look at all these terms that I put here, please, I wrote it at the bottom, at the footer. This is not a scope, it's a guide. So don't tell me at the end of the examination when you see a word that I ask you to explain or to distinguish, you said it was not listed in your scope, in your presentation. We don't give scope here. Do you understand? Okay. Apart from that, you are going to see other varieties of questions with different examination verbs, like discuss, evaluate, and so on and so forth. All selected from your study guide. We're not going to examine you. I'm not going to examine you. I'm not going to give you any question that is not from your study guide or your course outline. No, we don't go beyond that. If you see any question that is not from your study guide, call me. I will give you free mark for it. We don't go beyond that. So anything I'm going to give you in the examination comes from the studied guide. Okay. Let me take you through one question. Look at this question. Discuss the impact of computer usage in education. Discuss the impact of computer usage in education. Can you see that education? I put it in red. Why did I put it in red? I want to emphasize something here. One, impact. The impact is that how does it affect? What if you say what impact? I can ask you a question. What impact is this economy having on you? The economy can have good impact on some people. It can have bad impact on some people. Okay? So the impact can be on a positive side. It can be on a negative side. The impact can be on a positive side, it can be on a negative side. So if the question says, what is the impact of computer usage on our society, you are free to discuss both the positive and the negative. But if the question says, what are the positive impacts, then only the positive, the good ones you must discuss. If the question says, what are the negative impacts, only the negative you must discuss. If the question says, what are the advantages, then only the advantages. Why did I put that thing in red, the education? If it says in education, don't tell me anything outside education. Although it's an impact of computer, but you ask yourself, does it come from education? Is it related to education? Let's give an example. I ask you what is the advantage of computer in education. Then you are telling me something that we can use it to withdraw money. We can use it to call people. You ask yourself, the point that you are giving to me, does it have anything to do in the educational sector? What are the people that we have in the educational sector? We have the learners. So you can talk about the areas the computer is going to affect the learners. The areas is going to affect the teachers, what the teachers can do with the computer. The areas is going to affect the admin workers, the managers of educations. How does it affect them? So restrict yourself to education. But however, if a question says the impact of computer in our society, then you are free to talk about anywhere. So pay attention to the question before you write. If it says in our society, you are free to talk about anywhere. If the question says the impact of computer in the banking sector, only the banking sector you must talk about. Read your question well, understand your question well before you start to answer. Don't rush. If you rush, you crush. Okay. In continuation of our discussion, we want to look at how to approach some other related questions. Let's look at an example question here. Any question that I discuss here is just a sample question. We don't give questions, scope or questions to you before the examination. I'm just bringing out some of the past examination questions as a sample question to enhance you, to guide you on how to discuss those questions or how to answer those questions in the examination hall. Let's look at something like advantages and disadvantages of the use of internet. If I ask you to discuss the advantages of the use of internet, it's a different question when it says the advantages of the use of computer. Why? I can have a computer that is not connected to the internet. I can have a computer that is not connected to the internet. So the advantages of the use of computer is different from the advantages for the use of internet. With the internet, what can you gain? I'm sure you can talk about a lot of them, like communication, downloading of papers, downloading of question paper, using it to make research. So you try to differentiate the question clearly, whether it's the use of internet or the use of computer, so that you don't give wrong answers. Another thing before I move to the next point that I want to make very crystal clear to you here is that when a question says, give me 3 points, don't give more than 3 points, please. Do not give more than the point required. I repeat, do not give more than the point required. Oshiri, you understand? I can say it in any language so that you can really understand why. If I ask you for 3 points and you are giving me 5 points because you feel the question is very simple and other questions are difficult, so you want to make it up here, my dear, you are deceiving yourself there. You know what I do? I pick the first 3 points and cancel others. And the danger here is that it is possible that the other ones are the ones that you wrote very well, but I just picked the first 3 points. So don't dump answers for me. Don't give me more than required. And don't dump. Dumping is you give me both the correct and the incorrect. I ask you for the advantages of the internet, then you give me both advantages and disadvantages. Then, Mr. Edo, you can take the ones you want and leave the rest. Mr. Edo does not take anything there. Mr. Edo cancel everything there. I'm not trying to be too hard here, but I'm just letting you to face the reality of education. Because one day, we are going to teach my child. So you must be competent. You understand that now? Our children's hands will be in your hand. All our children. You're going to be the teacher of our children. So when IOL says you are a certified teacher, it means you are capable. So it's not a matter of we being too hard on you. We want to make sure that when IOL gives you that certificate that you are a qualified teacher, yes, you are a qualified teacher. At IOL, we don't step down on our standard. We build a standard. And that standard is a standard that we don't step down on. And the standard comes mostly also from the examination. So obey the examination rules. Do you understand, my beloved student? I'm not trying to be too hard on you. Edo loves you and I love you very well. And I want you to really pass your examination. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend, Edo loves you. Tell another friend of yours that Edo loves you. Now, love in academics, it doesn't go more than that. Do you understand? So I don't want somebody to to get otherwise of the whole thing. That is just a joke, by the way. All right. Let's continue our discussion, my beloved student. What next do I need to explain to you? Have you noticed that when you open your study guide, Module 1, Computer Literacy, I think the first unit, there's a diagram there. Can you remember that diagram? If you cannot, I can tell you to go back to your study guide. Now, you can pause my presentation, get your study guide, and look at the first unit. You will see a diagram there called Information Processing Circle. Practice how to draw that diagram. So a question like this can come. With the use of a diagram, explain or discuss the information processing cycle. What should you do? Draw the diagram. After drawing the diagram, label the diagram. After you must have labeled the diagram, explain all the labeled part of the diagram and give an example. For example, one of the components of that diagram is input. Explain what input is and give an example of input devices. Your mark is guaranteed. You get it all, I give you your marks. I'm a tutor that I don't get strict with my mark in the sense that does it mean I give free marks? I don't give free marks. If you get 100 over 100, I give it to you. I don't keep the one. If you get 100 over 100, I give it to you. If you get 0 over 100, I give it to you. I don't hold anything. So if you draw your diagram very well, label your diagram very well, explain all the components of your diagram, and you give an example, I will not hold your marks. I will give it to you. But if you don't draw the diagram well, then there's a problem. But how will you learn how to draw a diagram? You need to practice. That's why I told you it's in Unit 1 of your study guide, Module 1, Computer Literacy. Practice all these things. They were part of your assignment. That's why I told you at the beginning of the presentation that the assignment format is the same thing with that of the examination. So practice those things in case you did not do it well in your assignment. Other things that I want you to pay attention to is the following. That is the practical area. The practical area. Do you know how to shut down a computer? Do you know how to boot a computer? How to create a folder? How to save a document? How to print a document? If truly you did your assignment yourself, definitely you should know how to do all these things. But from experience, I know there are students that when it comes to the practical assignment, they don't do it themselves. They give it as a tender to their friends, to their colleagues, to their family members to help them do it. Then they submit it. Fine, you will pass the assignment. But who will help you when it comes to the examination? Nobody. 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 So, you cannot escape this, the practicals. In the examination, we are not going to give you practicals to do. However, we're going to test your practical knowledge. So if I ask you in the examination, explain how to create a folder. Can you write it for me step by steps? Explain how to print a document. Can you write it out for me step by step? I can ask you to explain how to shut down a computer. Can you write it out step by step? But the good thing is that if you have never worked on a computer, then you find this question very, very difficult to answer. But if you have worked on the computer, then you can answer this question. Then the problem comes, Mr. Edu, I live in the village. We don't have electricity. We don't have computer. I understand, Selma. I understand, my brother Petros. I understand very well. It is possible. But do you know you are schooling in one of the best institutions on earth, IOL. IOL has made it very possible for you that it doesn't matter where you live, you can have access to these items. All you need to do is to take a day off from work and go to the nearest IOL office, the regional office of IOL, the closest one, the nearest one to you. There is a student center in the office there of IOL. take a permission from the person in charge of the center that you want to make use of the computers. You will be granted that permission at no cost. There you have computers you can use to practice. Can you see there is no excuse? All you need to do is to make a time, day for it, and go to the nearest IOL office and practice on their computers so that you can know how to work on computers, not just how to write in theories. Will you do that? Please do. It will help you in your profession. It will help you in your examination. Okay, that is just a recommendation or an advice for you. Let's continue our discussion. All right? Here comes the problem. It's not a problem, really. It's not a problem. I'm not trying to scare you, but why do I say here comes the problem? In most cases, question that students fail in computer literacy is from Microsoft Excel. You see, because a little bit of calculation, a little bit of thinking, so students at times find it a little bit difficult. So I'm going to dwell on this for the next few minutes to explain to you how to answer questions on Microsoft Excel. Microsoft Excel, really, I gave you an assignment on it, you remember. I gave you an assignment on Microsoft Excel and you did the assignment. You did the assignment. So if you have worked on Microsoft Excel, it shouldn't be a problem for you now, unless you want to tell me you are not the one that worked on it. Tell me the truth. Tell me the truth. I will forgive you the sin. Just tell me it's only me and you that is here. Ne? Okay. When you have your question on Microsoft Excel, how do you answer them? I'm going to use a sample question here. Here you see a table on Microsoft Excel. Now, they ask you questions like this. How many columns does this table have? How many columns does it have? Now, let's look at this table and see how many columns it has. Permit me to just put on a little bit of my glasses here to see it clearly, so I don't make such mistake again. How many columns do we have? We have column A, column B, column C, column D, column E. So we have 5 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 columns. You don't count this as a column. This is not a column. You don't count this. So some of the common mistake is that students count this as a column. This is not a column. It's not part of your column. Every column must have an alphabet. Every column, there must be an alphabet. There must be an alphabet. So these are 5 columns. Then how many rows do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 rows. 7 rows. You don't count this one as part of your row because these are columns names. Do you understand that? Very easy to find out how many columns, how many rows that we have. Another very good question that comes from these most time, if you look at the sample question that I give to you here, name, let's look at question 1.1. Name any cell on the spreadsheet that contains a value. That contains a value. What is a value? In Microsoft Excel, a value is a number. In Microsoft Excel, a value is a number. So, how do you answer this question? You look at your Microsoft Excel. Can you see all these areas where there are numbers? 300, 250, 200, 100, 100. These are all values. These are all values. So what I'm asking you is to mention any of these cells. Tell me any of these cells name. For example, I can write like this. Cell B2. You see? It contains a value. Cell D3. It contains a value. But do not give me more than one cell because I asked for one. If you give me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of cells, then I'll mark you wrong because you are not sure. Because among those cells, there are ones that are not correct. So don't give me both correct and incorrect cells. I'll mark you wrong. Be specific about the answer you are giving. Another question they ask you here is that mention a cell that contains a label. Mention a cell that contains a label. Now, if you look at this spreadsheet, a label in Microsoft Excel is an alphabet. So can you see all these areas where there are alphabets? Can you see all these cells where there are alphabets? All these cells where there are alphabets? Can you see? I'm only asking you to tell me anyone that has alphabet. We call the alphabet labels. We call the alphabet labels. We call them labels. So I can tell you as an answer, cell A1, because, can you see? Cell A1. Cell B, A2 is another answer. B1, can you see? A5, all these are labeled because we have alphabet in them, like A5, A1, can you see? So those are labels, very easy to mention. Let's look at another question here. Before I talk about another question, I want to mention something clear to you here. When you write your cell, please, you write, for example, cell B1 should be B before the 1, not 1B. If you write 1B, then you are wrong. Not 1B when you write your cell. B1, B1, not 1B, not 1B. Do you understand that now? These are some of the common mistakes also that students make. So it can be small letter also, it doesn't matter. It's not necessary that it must 100% be in capital letter. It can also be in small letter, it doesn't matter. But what matters here is that the alphabet comes before the number when you write your cell. Another area that always comes around when it comes to the question is the formulas. I'm going to take one because our time is quite running out. I'm going to take one of the question here, precisely question 1,6, sample question 1,6. Write down the formula which should be in cell E2. The formula, the answer that should be in cell E2. So how do you answer the question? First of all, you go back to your table. Now in my table, where is cell E2? Where is cell E2? This is E2. Can you see that now? This is E2. This is E2. So, which formula should be here? For you to get the formula that should be here, you should ask yourself, what is this column all about? This column is all about total. Can you see now? Total. It means I'm adding this 300 plus this 100 plus this 250 to have my total here. So in other words, you have this 300 plus this 100 plus this 250. Then I'm going to have the total. That is what the spreadsheet is all about there. Can you see now? I'm going to add them together and have my total. But when it comes to answering of the spreadsheet question, you don't use, I repeat, do not use the numbers. Use the cell where the numbers are. Now this 300 is in cell B2. So it's going to be, my answer will be equals to B2. Why am I using B2? Because this 300 is in cell B2. It's in cell B2. Can you see it now? It's in cell B2. Plus C2. Can you see that now? C2. Can you see now? Plus, I want to take this 250. Can you see where the 250 is? D2. D2. So let me write it properly. My answer will now be equals to B2 plus C2 plus D2. That is my answer. That is the formula that would be in cell E2. For every formula, it must start with the equal sign. Every formula must start with the equal sign. So, here is my answer. Is there a problem? No. Do you understand? Yes. But you need to practice, You need to practice. Another way of writing this question, this answer, is this. Is by using the function of sum. You write it like this. Equal sum. You open a bracket. Take the first one. You see? Take the first one and the last one. Take the first one and the last one. B2 to D2. Which one do you prefer? The first method or the second method? Life is all about choices. Ne? I might like Amarula. You might like another brand of wine. Life is all about choice. Whichever one that is easier for you. Both methods are correct. But choose which one that is easier for you. I would prefer the second method. Do you know why? There is a reason. We are human beings, we can make mistakes. Even professionals. Those of us who are tutors, we can make mistakes. Now, let me give you an example. Let's assume the cells that I'm going to add together, there are 10 cells. B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8, B9, B10. 10. As a human being, I can write B1 plus B2 plus B4 plus B7. I have omitted B5. I have omitted B6. I've omitted these two. It makes my answer wrong. So if you are going to take it one by one, there's a possibility of you missing one of them. That is why I always advise you use the function where possible. Because the functions, using the range, if you use the range, it's a matter of picking the first cell and the last cell. Do you understand? Yes. I'm sure this will help you with Microsoft Excel. Other questions that we might ask you on Microsoft Excel: what are the uses of Excel? What are the advantages, disadvantages, and so on. But basically, we don't ask too many difficult questions on Excel. It's just the basic things that you need to know as already stated in your module. So as I said, we don't go beyond your module in any of our examination. Questions from internet and email. Don't forget, what is email? Download, upload, ISP, internet service provider. What is a website? A web browser, search engine, homepage, advantages of email. There are quite a lot of these things you should read from your study guide. You should be able to demonstrate an ability to write for me how to compose and send an email. If you are going to send an email and we need to attach a file when sending an email, can you send an email with a file attached to it? I can ask you to write the steps of how to send an email with a file attached to it. Differences between reply and reply all. Do you know that? Can you explain? Please go through all these things. Don't forget PowerPoint. It's part of your module. Don't forget PowerPoint, the use of PowerPoint. What are the steps in creating and using PowerPoint? Please don't ignore. This is one area that students do ignore at times. Please do not ignore this. You know the importance of 1 mark when you score 49 because you ignore one area of your study guide. Microsoft Word, don't also ignore that area. Then the health issues associated with the use of computer. What this topic is all about is that when you use computer regularly and for a long time, at times you experience some problems like back pain. See, because you use the computer all the time, you have pains at the neck, hands at times constantly on keyboard. So what are some of the problems that can happen, that can come from the constant use of the computer? Please, you should be able to discuss them and also to provide solution to those things. We come to the end of our presentation, but we didn't come to the end of contact between you and I. There's no way I can have everything to be discussed with you within these 45 minutes of presentation. So what do? Free to contact me on the number displayed on the screen, or email me. I will be there to help you, to guide you. But I prefer you contact me as from 5:30 after work. Don't contact me while I'm at work in the morning time. Contact me after work during the weekend as from 2 o'clock. Don't contact me on Sunday morning when I'm at church. Contact me after work, after service. I remain yours, Edu, your tutor for computer literacy. I wish you all the best in your examination. Do well. Success will come your way. If you study hard, then Edo will meet you at the graduation hall. I will see you with in your black gown with flowers flying all over the places. But in case you write one examination and you did not make it, don't give up. Winners don't quit. Try again. Thank you.